After being abandoned by her husband, a young pregnant woman gave a ride to an injured man, and the ending was surprising. Before listening to this incredible story, click subscribe to see more exciting stories like this and avoid 10 years of bad luck in love. In a modest auto repair shop on the outskirts of the city, the roar of engines and the clinking of tools filled the air. Among the oil and metal, the figure of Sarah Thompson stood out, a 25-year-old woman whose passion for cars was only surpassed by her determination. With her expert hands and her stained overalls, Sarah was the soul of Dreams Garage, a business she had inherited from her father and kept afloat with unwavering dedication. While adjusting the timing belt of an old Chevrolet, Sarah couldn't help but let her mind wander to the events of the past few weeks. Her relationship with Mike, her boyfriend of the last 3 years, had ended abruptly when he decided to accept a job abroad without even consulting. Her Mike's departure had left a void in her heart, but also an unexpected surprise that she still didn't dare share with anyone. "Sarah, have you seen the Phillips screwdriver?" The voice of Tom, her assistant and lifelong friend, pulled her from her thoughts. "It's in the red box next to the compressor," she replied, grateful for the distraction. At the end of the workday, when the sun began to hide behind nearby buildings, Sarah closed the shop and headed to her small apartment on the upper floor. She collapsed on the couch, exhausted, and her hand instinctively rested on her belly. The news of her pregnancy, confirmed just a few days ago, was a secret that weighed on her shoulders like a ton. "How am I going to handle this alone?" she asked aloud, as tears threatened to spring from her eyes. The shop barely generated enough to stay afloat, and the idea of raising a child on her own terrified her. That night, as the city sank into darkness, Sarah made a decision. No matter how difficult the road ahead was, she would face this challenge with the same determination with which she had faced every obstacle in her life. Her son or daughter deserved a strong mother, and she was determined to be one. What Sarah didn't know was that fate had unexpected plans for her, plans that would begin to unfold with the dawn of the new day, when a chance encounter on the road would change the course of her life forever. The next morning dawned grey and rainy, as if the sky reflected Sarah's inner turmoil. Determined not to be defeated by circumstances, she headed to the shop earlier than usual. The familiar roar of her old pickup truck comforted her as she drove along the lonely road that meandered between mist-covered hills. Suddenly, a flash in the rearview mirror caught her attention. A black sports car was approaching at full speed, dangerously zigzagging. Sarah barely had time to move aside when the vehicle overtook her, losing control on a tight curve. With horror, she watched as the car skidded and crashed into the guardrail. Without thinking twice, Sarah stopped her truck and ran towards the accident. Smoke rose from the dented hood, and the smell of gasoline and burning rubber filled the air. "Sir, can you hear me?" Sarah shouted, approaching the drivers. A weak groan was all the response she got. With effort, she managed to open the twisted door. In the seat, a man in his 30s lay unconscious with a wound on his forehead that was bleeding profusely. Sarah acted on instinct. Carefully, she unbuckled the seatbelt and, mustering all her strength, dragged the man out of the vehicle. Just as they managed to move a few meters away, the car burst into flames. "Come on, hang in there," Sarah muttered, checking the stranger's vital signs. His pulse was weak but stable. With trembling hands, she dialed the emergency number on her cell phone. While waiting for the ambulance, Sarah observed the man she had just rescued closely. Despite the blood and cuts, she could see that he was attractive, with elegant features and an expensive suit, now ruined. Who was this man, and why was he driving so recklessly? The minutes seemed endless until help finally arrived. While the paramedics attended to the injured man, a police officer approached Sarah to take her statement. "Miss, can you tell us what happened?" Sarah recounted the events, but when the officer asked if she knew the driver's identity, she had to admit her ignorance. "I have no idea who he is, officer. I just know he needed help." As she watched them load the stranger into the ambulance, Sarah felt a strange connection to him. Something inside her told her that this wouldn't be their last encounter. "Excuse me," she said to one of the paramedics. "Which hospital are you taking him to?" "Central Memorial," the man replied, before closing the ambulance doors. Sarah stood there, under the rain that now fell gently, watching the ambulance drive away with its siren echoing in the distance. For a moment she forgot her own problems, consumed by concern for this stranger that fate had placed in her path. With a sigh, she returned to her truck. The shop would have to wait. Now she had a new mission. Something told her she needed to know more about this mysterious man, and Sarah had always trusted her instincts. As she drove towards the hospital, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to take an unexpected turn. What she didn't know was how deep and dangerous this turn would be, nor how this chance encounter would lead her to unravel a plot of betrayal and family secrets that would change her destiny forever. Central Memorial Hospital was bustling with activity when Sarah walked through its automatic doors. The smell of disinfectant and the hum of hushed conversations enveloped her as she headed to the information desk. "Excuse me," Sarah said to the receptionist. "I'm looking for information about a man who was brought in a little while ago. He was in a car accident on Highway 101. The woman quickly typed on her computer before looking up. "I'm sorry, miss, but we can only give information to immediate family. Are you related to the patient?" Sarah hesitated for a moment. I'm the one who rescued him from the accident," she replied, opting for the truth. The receptionist looked at her with a mixture of surprise and admiration. "I see. In that case, I can tell you that the patient is in surgery right now. If you'd like to wait, the waiting room is over there." She pointed to a hallway on her right. Thanking her, Sarah headed to the waiting room. She sat down in one of the uncomfortable plastic chairs, wondering why she felt so involved in the fate of this stranger. The hours passed slowly. Sarah alternated between worry for the man from the accident and anxiety about her own situation. Her hand unconsciously rested on her belly from time to time, reminding her of the life growing inside her. Near noon, the sound of raised voices pulled her from her thoughts. An older man dressed in an impeccable suit was arguing heatedly with a nurse in the hallway. "I demand to see my ward immediately." The man's voice resonated with authority and frustration. "Mr. Callahan, I understand your concern, but Mr. Davidson is still in recovery. The doctor will come talk to you as soon as possible," the nurse replied, trying to maintain her calm. The name Davidson caught Sarah's attention. Could it be the last name of the man she had rescued? The older man, whom the nurse had called Callahan, turned abruptly and noticed Sarah watching him. His eyes narrowed with suspicion. "And who are you? What are you doing here?" he asked in an accusatory tone. Sarah stood up, feeling a mixture of nervousness and determination. "My name is Sarah Thompson. I was the one who helped Mr. Davidson after the accident." Mr. Callahan's expression changed instantly, going from hostility to a calculated interest. "Ah, the heroine of the day. You must excuse my rudeness. Miss Thompson, I'm deeply grateful for your intervention. I'm William Callahan, legal guardian and administrator of Nathan Davidson's estate." Something in the way Mr. Callahan spoke put Sarah on alert. There was a coldness in his eyes that contrasted with his words of gratitude. "How is he?" Sarah asked, genuinely concerned. "Stable, from what I've been told." "Thanks to you, of course," Callahan replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Tell me, Miss Thompson, did Nathan say anything to you before losing consciousness? Did he mention why he was on that road so early?" The question took Sarah by surprise. "No, he was unconscious when I got to him. I just focused on getting him out of the car before it—" Her words were interrupted by the arrival of a doctor. "Relatives of Nathan Davidson." Callahan turned quickly. "I'm his legal guardian. How is he?" The doctor looked briefly at Sarah before continuing. "Mr. Davidson is out of danger. He suffered a cerebral contusion and some minor fractures, but he will make a full recovery. However, what, doctor?" Callahan pressed. "We found something unusual during our examinations. Mr. Davidson has traces of a substance in his blood that suggests he may have been drugged before the accident." The revelation fell like a bomb in the room. Sarah felt the ground move beneath her feet. Drugged? Did that explain his erratic driving? Callahan visibly paled. "That is unexpected. Can I see him now?" The doctor nodded. "He's waking up from the anesthesia. You can go in for a few minutes, but only family for now." As Callahan followed the doctor, he turned to Sarah one last time. "Miss Thompson, I thank you again for your help. Please leave your details with the nurse. I'm sure Nathan will want to thank you personally when he recovers." Sarah nodded, but something inside her told her that things were not what they seemed. As she watched Callahan disappear down the hallway, she made a decision. She wouldn't leave the hospital until she spoke directly with Nathan Davidson. There were too many unanswered questions, and Sarah had the feeling that she was about to become involved in something much bigger and more dangerous than she had ever imagined. The following days were a whirlwind for Sarah. Divided between her work at the garage and her visits to the hospital, she barely had time to process everything that was happening in her life. Her pregnancy, still a secret to everyone, added to the weight of concern for Nathan Davidson, the mysterious man she had rescued. Finally, 3 days after the accident, Sarah managed to sneak into Nathan's room, taking advantage of a shift change. For the nurses. Her heart was pounding as she closed the door behind her. Nathan was awake, his face still marked by cuts and bruises, but his eyes, an intense hazel color, lit up when he saw her. "You must be my guardian angel," he said in a hoarse voice. Managing a weak smile, Sarah approached the bed, feeling a strange mixture of relief and nervousness. "I'm glad to see you're better. I'm Sarah, the one who pulled me out of the burning car," Nathan completed. "My Uncle William told me what you did. I can never thank you enough." Sarah sat in the chair next to the bed, studying Nathan's face. There was something about him, a vulnerability mixed with determination, that intrigued her. "Nathan," she began, hesitating for a moment before continuing, "do you remember anything about the accident? The doctor mentioned they found substances in your blood." Nathan's expression darkened upon hearing Sarah's question. He looked towards the door as if making sure they were alone, before responding in a low voice, "Sarah, there's something you need to know. My life. It's not what it seems." The accident wasn't an accident. Sarah held her breath, feeling she was about to enter deep and dangerous waters. "What do you mean?" Nathan sat up slightly in the bed, wincing in pain. "I've been investigating my Uncle William. I believe that he had something to do with my parents' death 10 years ago." The revelation hit Sarah like lightning. "Your uncle, but he seems so concerned about you." "It's a facade," Nathan interrupted, his voice tinged with bitterness. "Since my parents died in that supposed plane accident, William has controlled my entire life and my family's fortune. But a few months ago, I found documents suggesting the accident was planned." Sarah felt the world spinning around her. Suddenly, her own situation seemed small compared to the conspiracy Nathan was revealing. "The night before the accident," Nathan continued, "I managed to access William's safe. I found evidence. Sarah evidence that directly links him to the sabotage of my parents' plane. But he must have realized, I think he put something in my drink that night. And then I woke up. Here." Sarah instinctively took Nathan's hand, feeling the need to offer him some kind of comfort. "Nathan, this is very serious. We should call the police." Nathan shook his head vehemently. "We can't. William has connections everywhere. Besides, the evidence is hidden, and I can't access it from here, Sarah. I know you barely know me, but can I trust you?" Nathan's eyes, full of desperation and hope, locked onto Sarah's. At that moment, she knew her life had changed forever. She was no longer just a mechanic dealing with an unexpected pregnancy. Now she was at the center of a family betrayal plot that could cost her her life. "You can trust me," Sarah responded firmly, surprised by her own determination. "What do you need me to do?" Nathan let out a sigh of relief. "In my apartment, behind the painting in the living room, there's a safe. The combination is 07-1885, my mother's birth date. Inside there's a flash drive with all the evidence. I need you to retrieve it before William finds it." Sarah nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and adrenaline. "I'll do it. But Nathan, what will happen afterwards? You can't face your uncle alone." "I won't be alone," Nathan said, gently squeezing Sarah's hand. "I have you, don't I?" At that moment, the sound of approaching footsteps alerted them. Sarah quickly stood up, releasing Nathan's hand. "I'll be back soon," she whispered, heading for the door. Just as Sarah was leaving the room, she came face to face with William Callahan. The man looked at her with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "Miss Thompson, what a surprise to find you here," William said, his voice laden with forced kindness. "I didn't know you and my nephew had become so close." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, but maintained her composure. "I was just passing by to see how he was doing. I'm glad to see he's recovering." William studied her for a moment before nodding. "Of course your concern is admirable, but I'm sure you have your own matters to attend to. Allow me to escort you to the exit." As they walked down the hospital corridor, Sarah could feel William's penetrating gaze upon her. She knew that from that moment on, every step she took would be watched. The mission Nathan had entrusted to her now seemed even more dangerous. Upon reaching the hospital entrance, William stopped and turned to Sarah. "Miss Thompson, I thank you again for what you did for my nephew, but I advise you to stay away from our family affairs. There are things that, well, let's say it's better not to get too involved." The veiled threat in his words was clear. Sarah nodded, feigning understanding. "I understand, Mr. Callahan. Don't worry, I just wanted to make sure Nathan was okay." With one last warning look, William said goodbye and returned to the hospital. Interior. Sarah walked out to the parking lot, her mind working at full speed. She knew she was about to enter a world of dangers she had never imagined, but as she placed a protective hand on her belly, she made a decision. She would not only fight for the truth Nathan was seeking, but also for the future of her unborn child. Getting into her truck, Sarah took a deep breath. She had a mission to fulfill, and time was running against her. With determination, she started the engine and headed towards Nathan's apartment, aware that every move she made from now on could change the course of many lives, including her own. Sarah's heart was pounding as she pulled up in front of the elegant apartment building where Nathan lived. Night had fallen over the city, enveloping the streets in shadows that seemed to hide secrets and dangers. Taking a deep breath to calm her nerves, Sarah mentally reviewed the plan Nathan had given her the address and explained that the doorman, a man named Eddie, would let her in if she mentioned she was coming to pick up some documents for him. With determined steps, Sarah approached the entrance. The doorman, a middle-aged man with a tired expression, looked at her curiously. "Good evening," Sarah said, striving to keep her voice steady. "I'm here on behalf of Nathan Davidson. He asked me to pick up some important documents from his apartment." Eddie studied her for a moment before nodding. "Ah, yes. Mr. Davidson called to let us know. Go ahead, Miss Apartment 1201. Sarah let out the breath she didn't know she was holding and headed for the elevator. As she ascended to the 12th floor, she couldn't help but think about how surreal the whole situation was. Just a few days ago, her biggest concern was how she would handle her pregnancy alone. Now she was in the middle of a plot worthy of a spy movie. Upon reaching Nathan's apartment, Sarah used the key he had given her. The interior was elegant and minimalist, with modern furniture and abstract artwork on the walls. Sarah quickly located the painting Nathan had described, an abstract piece in shades of blue and grey that dominated the main wall of the living room. With trembling hands, Sarah moved the painting, revealing the safe behind it. She entered the combination Nathan had given her, 07-1885. With a soft click, the door opened. Inside, among several documents and a small jewelry box, she found the flash drive. It was small and black, seemingly insignificant, but Sarah knew it contained information that could destroy a powerful and dangerous man. Just as she was about to close the safe, the sound of a key turning in the lock of the main door paralyzed her. Panic seized her. Who could it be? William? The police? With no time to think, Sarah closed the safe, put the painting back in place, and on impulse hid in the bedroom closet, leaving the door slightly ajar. From her hiding place, Sarah heard footsteps entering the apartment. Her heart was beating so loud she feared it might give her away. "Check everything." She heard a male voice that she recognized as William Callahan's. "That flash drive has to be here somewhere." "Sir," another voice responded, "are you sure your nephew doesn't have it with him at the hospital?" "Impossible," William growled. "We searched him before taking him there. Besides, I've been monitoring all his visits. No one has entered his room except wait." The silence that followed was more terrifying than any noise to Sarah. "That mechanic," William continued, his voice laden with suspicion. "She was in his room today, damn it. How could I have been so careless?" Sarah held her breath, clutching the flash drive in her hand until the edges dug into her palm. "Do you want us to look for her, sir?" the other voice asked. "Not yet," William replied. "First, let's make sure. It's not here. If we don't find it, then we'll deal with Miss Thompson." The next few minutes were torture for Sarah. She heard them ransacking the apartment, opening drawers and moving furniture. Every time the footsteps approached the closet, she felt her heart stop. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, William spoke again. "It's not here. Let's go. We need to move fast. That mechanic could ruin everything." Sarah heard them leaving the apartment, and only then did she dare to breathe normally. She came out of the closet on shaky legs, aware that she was now in more danger than ever. Without wasting time, Sarah left the apartment and went down the stairs, fearing to encounter William if she used the elevator. Upon reaching the ground floor, she peeked out cautiously. The lobby was empty, and Eddie seemed to have momentarily left his post. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Sarah ran to her truck. Just as she was starting the engine, she saw William and another man coming out of the building in her rear-view mirror. Their gazes met for a second, and Sarah saw William's face contort with fury as he recognized her. With her heart in her throat, Sarah stepped on the accelerator and sped away. In the passenger seat, the flash drive seemed to weigh a ton. She knew that now she not only had to protect the truth Nathan was seeking, but also her own life and that of her unborn baby. As she drove through the night streets of the city, Sarah made a decision. She couldn't go back to her home. It would be the first place they would look for her. She needed a safe place to hide and plan her next move. With determination, she turned at an intersection and headed towards the outskirts of the city. She knew of an old abandoned garage where her father used to work. Nobody knew of its existence except her. It would be the perfect refuge, while she decided what to do with the information she now possessed and how to protect Nathan and herself from William Callahan's wrath. The night loomed over her, full of dangers and secrets, but Sarah was determined to face them all. For Nathan, for the truth, for her future child, and for herself. The mechanic who once only worried about fixing engines now found herself in the task of repairing broken lives and unmasking a web of lies that threatened to destroy everything. The old abandoned garage loomed like a ghost from times past on the outskirts of the city. Sarah parked her truck behind the building, hidden from the view of any vehicle that might pass by on the nearby road. The screech of the rusty door opening resonated in the night silence, making Sarah shudder. Once inside, she turned on her phone's flashlight, illuminating the dusty interior of the garage. Rusty tools and forgotten car parts lay scattered everywhere, silent, witnesses to a more prosperous era. In a corner, Sarah found an old couch covered with a tarp. She cleaned it as best she could and sat down, feeling for the first time in hours the weight of exhaustion. With trembling hands, she took the flash drive out of her pocket. This small device contained the key to unmasking William and avenging Nathan's parents' death. But it had also made her a target. Sarah turned on her laptop, grateful she had the foresight to bring it with her. As she waited for it to boot up, she couldn't help but think of Nathan, alone and vulnerable in the hospital. Was he safe? Would William suspect that he had entrusted the mission to her? The contents of the flash drive were revealed before her eyes. Financial documents, encrypted emails, and most shocking, a video. With her heart racing, Sarah clicked on the video file. The grainy image showed William Callahan in what appeared to be his office, talking to a somber-looking man. The audio quality was poor, but the words she managed to make out chilled. Her blood, "The Davidson's plane, no failures, will look like an accident." Sarah covered her mouth with her hand, horrified. Here was the irrefutable proof of William's involvement in Nathan's parents' death. But how had Nathan obtained this recording? As she continued exploring the files, a noise outside the garage startled her. She quickly turned off the laptop and held her breath, listening intently. The sound of an approaching engine filled her with panic. Had they found her so soon? With her heart in her throat, Sarah crept towards a dirty window and looked outside. A patrol car had stopped on the nearby road. 2 officers got out of the vehicle, illuminating the surroundings with their flashlights. "This is not good," Sarah muttered to herself. She didn't know if the police were specifically looking for her or if they were just doing a routine round, but she couldn't risk being discovered. Quickly gathering her things, Sarah looked for an alternative exit. She remembered that her father had once shown her a small tunnel that connected the garage to a nearby warehouse used in smuggling times during Prohibition. Moving a heavy shelf, Sarah uncovered the hidden entrance to the tunnel. The passage was narrow and dark, but it was her only option. With one last glance towards the main door, where the flashlight beams were already filtering through the cracks, Sarah entered the darkness. The tunnel was claustrophobic, and the air was stale. Sarah advanced gropingly, guided only by the weak light of her phone. Each step was a challenge, and the weight of her situation began to overwhelm her. She was alone, pregnant, pursued by a powerful and dangerous man, and carrying information that could change many lives. After what seemed like an eternity, Sarah saw a faint glow ahead. She emerged into an old warehouse, filled with boxes and rusty machinery. Through a dirty window, she could see that dawn was breaking. Exhausted and emotionally drained, Sarah sat on a box, allowing herself a moment of weakness. The tears she had been holding back finally flowed freely. She cried for the injustice Nathan had suffered, for the danger she was in, for the baby growing in her womb, and for the normal life that seemed to have vanished in a matter of days. But Sarah wasn't one to give up easily. Wiping away her tears, she took out her phone and dialed the only number she knew she could trust, that of her old friend Tom. "Sarah, do you have any idea what time it is?" Tom's sleepy voice sounded on the other end of the line. "Tom, listen to me, I'm in trouble and I need your help," Sarah said, her voice shaky but determined. "I can't explain everything now, but I need you to trust me." There was a moment of silence before Tom responded, now fully awake. "What do you need?" "I need you to go to Central Memorial Hospital and make sure Nathan Davidson is safe. Don't talk to anyone but him. Tell him I have what he asked for and that I'm safe for now. Then, I need you to find a safe place where we can meet." "Sarah, you're scaring me. What have you gotten yourself into?" "I'll explain everything soon, I promise. Please, Tom, you're the only one I can trust right now." Tom sighed deeply. "All right, I'll do it. Be careful. Sarah." After hanging up, Sarah allowed herself a moment to regain her composure. Dawn painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, a surreal contrast to the darkness of her current situation. With renewed determination, Sarah stood up. She had to move, find a safe place to analyze the information on, the flash drive, and plan her next move. She knew William wouldn't stop until he found her, and time was not on her side. As she cautiously left the warehouse, Sarah couldn't help but think of Nathan. Would he be safe? Would William have suspected his complicity? Concern for him mingled with a deeper feeling that Sarah was just beginning to recognize. With a protective hand on her belly, Sarah ventured into the streets that were beginning to wake up. She had a mission to fulfill, a truth to reveal, and now more than ever, a future to fight for. The mechanic who once only worried about fixing broken engines now found herself repairing the gears of justice, determined not to stop until the truth came to light. The afternoon sun was falling on the city when Sarah finally arrived at the meeting point Tom had indicated, a discreet cafe on the outskirts, far from the areas William Callahan would likely be watching. With her heart racing, she entered the establishment, quickly scanning the place for her friend Tom was sitting in, a corner, his face a mixture of worry and relief upon seeing her. Next to him, to Sarah's surprise and joy, was Nathan, pale and visibly weak, but out of the hospital. "Sarah!" Nathan exclaimed, trying to stand up, but wincing in pain in the process. Sarah ran towards them, hugging Tom first and then, more carefully, Nathan. "How? When did you get out of the hospital?" "Your friend Tom helped me," Nathan explained, looking gratefully at the mechanic. He arrived just in time. William had sent some of his men to transfer me to a private clinic. I knew that if they took me there, I probably would never come out again. Sarah sat down, feeling the weight of the last few days on her shoulders. I have the flash drive, she said quietly, looking around cautiously. Nathan, what it contains, it's worse than we imagined. As Sarah recounted what she had discovered, Tom and Nathan's faces darkened. Tom, who until that moment only knew fragments of the story, seemed to be processing the magnitude of the situation his friend had become involved in. We need to take this to the authorities, Tom finally said. This is too big to handle on our own. Nathan shook his head. It's not that simple. William has connections everywhere. We need to make sure the information reaches the right people, people who aren't under his influence. I know someone, Sarah interjected, suddenly remembering. My cousin works in the anti-corruption prosecutor's office. He's always been incorruptible. It's even cost him promotions. If there's anyone we can trust, it's him. As they discussed their next move, Sarah's phone vibrated. It was a message from an unknown number. I know what you have. Meet me in the Central Park in an hour. Come alone, or your mechanic friend, and young Davidson will pay WC. The color drained from Sarah's face. It's William, she whispered, showing them the message. He's found us. Nathan took her hand, his eyes full of determination. You're not going alone. This ends today. Tom nodded, his loyalty unwavering. We're in this together, Sarah. With her heart full of gratitude and fear, Sarah looked at her companions. I have a plan, she finally said. But it will be dangerous, and I'll need you to trust me completely. As the sun began to set, the three left the cafe. Each with a clear role in Sarah's risky plan, the final confrontation was about to begin, and the fate of many hung by a thread. The Central Park was almost deserted when Sarah arrived, exactly an hour after receiving the message. She sat on a bench, apparently alone, but knowing that Tom and Nathan were nearby, hidden and ready to act according to the plan. She didn't have to wait long. William Callahan emerged from the shadows, his face a mask of cold determination. Miss Thompson, he said, his voice laden with barely veiled threat. I'm glad you decided to be reasonable. Sarah stood up, facing him. It's over, William. I have all the evidence of what you did. The murder of Nathan's parents, the fraud, everything. William laughed, a humorless sound. And you think that matters? I'm a powerful man, Sarah. I can make you, and that evidence disappear without a trace. Maybe, Sarah replied, her voice firm despite the fear she felt. But then you'll have to explain this. She took out her phone and played a recording. It was William's voice, confessing his crimes. A recording that Sarah had cleverly made during their confrontation at the hospital. William's face paled. Give me that phone, he growled, advancing towards her. At that moment, Nathan and Tom came out of their hiding place. Along with Sarah's cousin and several police officers, William found himself surrounded, his empire of lies crumbling around him. William Callahan, Sarah's cousin said, showing his badge. You're under arrest for the murder of Emily and Robert Davidson, fraud and conspiracy. As the officers handcuffed William, Nathan approached him. It's over, Uncle. The truth has finally come to... Light William, defeated, looked at Sarah with a mixture of rage and something akin to respect. It seems I underestimated you, Miss Thompson. Simple mechanic who would have thought... As William was led away, Sarah felt an enormous weight lift from her shoulders. Nathan hugged her, his eyes bright with emotion and gratitude. Thank you, he whispered, for everything. Tom joined the hug, and for a moment the three stood like that, united by adversity and triumph. But for Sarah, this wasn't the end of her story, but the beginning of a new one. As she placed a hand on her belly, she felt a soft kick, as if her baby was also celebrating this moment of justice and new hope. The sun was setting over the park, bathing everything. In a golden light, Sarah looked at Nathan, seeing in his eyes a future she had never imagined for herself, a future full of love, family, and second chances. What now? Tom asked, breaking the silence. Sarah smiled, intertwining her fingers with Nathan's. Now, she said, We start anew, together. And so, under the sunset sky, a new story began to be written. A story of love, redemption, and the transformative power of truth. The mechanic who once only fixed engines had repaired broken lives and found, in the process, her own path to happiness. 6 months had passed since that fateful afternoon in the park. Sarah's life had taken a 180-degree turn, transforming in a way she never would have imagined. The trial against William Callahan had concluded, resulting in a conviction that ensured he would spend the rest of his days behind bars. The truth about Nathan's parents' death had finally come to light, bringing with it a sense of closure and long-awaited justice. Sarah found herself in the garage. But this was no longer the modest business it once was. With Nathan's help and the funds recovered from William's embezzlements, they had transformed Dream's Garage into a thriving classic car restoration business. The place was buzzing with activity, with Tom supervising a team of young apprentices, fulfilling Sarah's dream of creating opportunities for others. As she adjusted the carburetor of a '65 Mustang, Sarah felt a strong kick in her very swollen belly. She smiled, placing a hand on her bump. "Easy there, little one," she murmured affectionately. "You'll be here soon." "Bothering Mum again?" Nathan's voice surprised her. She turned to see him enter the garage, a radiant smile on his face. Sarah returned the smile, feeling that now familiar flutter in her heart every time she saw him. "I think he has your restless spirit," she joked, accepting the kiss Nathan offered her. Nathan knelt in front of her, placing his hand on Sarah's belly. "Hey, champ, give your mum a break, okay? You'll have plenty of time to run around when you're out here." As if understanding, the baby gave one last soft kick before settling down. Sarah and Nathan shared a look of wonder and love. "How was the meeting?" Sarah asked as Nathan stood up. "Better than we expected," he replied, his face lighting up with enthusiasm. "The foundation is ready to launch. We're going to be able to help many orphaned children, give them the chance I didn't have after losing my parents." The Davidson Foundation had been Nathan's idea, a way to honor his parents' memory and turn the pain of his past into hope for others. Sarah couldn't be more proud of him. "That's wonderful, honey," said Sarah, hugging him. "Your parents would be so proud of you." Nathan hugged her tightly, burying his face in Sarah's hair. "None of this would have been possible without you," he murmured. "You saved me in more ways than you can imagine." The moment was interrupted by Tom's arrival, who entered the garage wiping his hands with a rag. "Hey, lovebirds, I hate to interrupt, but we have a surprise for you." Intrigued, Sarah and Nathan followed Tom to the backyard of the garage. There, to their surprise, they found the entire team gathered around, something covered with a tarp. "What's this?" Sarah asked, looking around confused. Tom smiled widely. "Well, boss, we all know you've been working hard, even with the baby on the way. And Nathan, you've been busy with the foundation. So we thought we'd give you an early gift for the baby." With a flourish, Tom pulled off the tarp, revealing a beautiful customized baby stroller. It was painted in a bright metallic blue, with chrome details and a soft leather interior. On the front, in elegant letters, was written, "The Little Mechanic." Sarah felt tears filling her eyes. "Oh, guys, it's beautiful." Nathan was equally moved, running his hand over the perfect finish of the stroller. It's amazing, thank you all." As the team surrounded them with hugs and congratulations, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at how her life had changed. Just a year ago, she was alone, scared, and facing an uncertain future. Now she was surrounded by love, with a family that went beyond blood ties. That night, after closing the garage, Sarah and Nathan were walking hand in hand through the park, where months ago they had faced their most dangerous moment. "Can you believe how much everything has changed?" Sarah asked, resting her head on Nathan's shoulder. Nathan kissed her forehead softly. "Sometimes I pinch myself to make sure it's not a dream, you, the baby, the garage, the foundation. It's more than I ever dared to dream." They stopped in front of the central fountain of the park, the water gleaming under the moonlight. Nathan took both of Sarah's hands, looking into her eyes with an intensity that made her catch her breath. "Sarah Thompson," he began, his voice slightly trembling, "you came into my life like a guardian angel. You saved me not only from death, but from a life without love and without purpose. You gave me a family, a future, a reason to be better every day." Slowly, he knelt in front of her, taking a small box out of his pocket. "Would you do me the extraordinary honor of marrying me?" Sarah felt the world stop around her. Tears were running freely down her cheeks as she nodded, unable to form words for a moment. "Yes," she finally managed to say. "Yes. 1,000 times. Yes." Nathan slid the ring onto her finger, a beautiful white gold band with a delicate diamond in the center, before standing up and kissing her with all the love and passion he felt. As they embraced under the moonlight, the baby gave a little kick, as if celebrating too. Sarah laughed softly, taking Nathan's hand and placing it on her belly. "I think someone else is excited," she said tenderly. Nathan knelt again, this time to talk to the baby. "Hey, little one," he said softly. "What do you think? Now we'll officially be a family." At that moment, looking at Nathan talking to their future child, Sarah felt a peace and happiness she never thought possible. Life had taught her that sometimes, from the most difficult circumstances, the most beautiful gifts can be born. The mechanic who once only repaired engines had found a way to repair hearts, including her own. And as the future stretched out before them, full of promises and new adventures, Sarah knew that no matter what challenges fate had in store for them, they would face them together, with love, courage, and the strength they had found in each other. Thus, under the starry sky, a new chapter began in Sarah and Nathan's life. A life that promised to be full of love, laughter, perhaps some challenges, but above all the joy of a family united by something stronger than blood, unconditional love and mutual trust. And as they walked back home hand in hand with the ring shining on Sarah's finger, they both knew that this was not the end of their story, but the beginning of a new and exciting adventure, an adventure they would face together as the family they were meant to be.